of our health, and it's only fitting that all of these questions are addressed in a scientific manner. The next slide, please. Yeah. So we have with us Dr. Palok. He is currently professor and dean of R&D at NICER. And he has many firsts to his name. So when he was at Karolinska Institute, Sweden, he developed the world's first UV-FCS. He has also discovered the world's first mDNA. And at Vido in Canada, he built a program to quantify stressors within cattle, later in humans, which then went on and slowly transitioned into the program on gut microbiome. So Dr. Palok is India's leading microbiome researchers. Very happy to have him here with all of us. Dr. Palok, over to you.
Thank you, Akanksha, and thanks the microbiotics team for giving me this opportunity. I think I'm really happy, and good evening to you all who will be listening. So the way I have planned this, I guess I am audible to everybody. Okay. So, one of the major achievements we make when we relax, and microbiome has a huge role in it. And that's what my disclaimer. You just relax, sit back, so that it can send a feedback to your microbiome to behave, and you can extract the most out of it. So before I get further, this is my evolution of the research team, starting on the left off from Vido, the Vaccine Institute in Canada, to various places to NICER. And this is post-COVID, how my venture looks like. Here you can see that my lab in NICER on the left, and on the right, the microbiotics people. So the way I have planned today is something like, as I said, like my research evolved, my group evolved, and we as human beings also evolved. So evolution, or this evolutionary medicine, plays an important role in our life. Because whenever we talk about health, we talk about medicine, and before medicine, we talk about diagnosis. And what happens throughout the progress of civilization and before civilizations, whatever evidence we have noticed that we have not only evolved, the nature has also helped us to cope up with the situation. So that means there was a hand-holding. And this hand-holding is today known as evolutionary health, evolutionary medicine. So what does exactly evolutionary medicine mean? That's what would be my next couple of slides. So its another name is also Darwinian medicine, because Darwin is the father of evolution. It's basically the application of modern evolutionary theory to understand health and disease. Whenever there is an outcome that is not healthy outcome, it is believed now that a natural selection, or the principle of natural selection, played an important role. And we will see how it is also important in every aspect of our life, including microbiome. So this is the busy slide, and I don't want you to go through the entire nitty-gritty details of this slide. What I want you to pay your attention is that the title, the possible causes of psychological abnormalities from an adaptationist perspective. So what does it mean? Basically, you see, whether it is a fever or throwing up or allergies or modern diet related type 2 diabetes, it all has some component of evolution or the natural selection. So how does it happen? So say, for example, we have consumed something, undesired food or material. So immediate reaction, we have a reaction already inbuilt in our system that it tries to purge it out. And the allergies, which means an oversensitivity to something, overreactiveness. Similarly, our we have started changing our lifestyle very fast. We are eating fast food, but our body or system cannot really adjust so fast. So as a result, we get some diseases like type 2 diabetes. So there are many such examples if you see. So, for example, there are certain pockets in Africa where malaria was actually a pandemic. And then it was found that there is another disease known as thalassemia. If thalassemia happens in an individual who is suffering from malaria, then the mortality rate decreases. Thalassemia gives some protection against malaria. So you can see this thalassemia is a genetic defect which happens through particular mutations in an individual, and that has a protection against malaria. Although thalassemia is a disease, but this disease is less fatal than the other disease, and that's an advantage we are getting. Similarly, people have also shown another form of thalassemia, beta thalassemia. The carrier of this heterozygous form um, actually protects against coronary heart disease. So you can see there are many different things. Say, for example, this hemochromatosis, which helps people to accumulate iron. And there is a particular mutation happen. This is known as C282I, where what happens, and it happens long back, thousands of years back, in the Neolithic agricultural revolution. In the Neolithic diet, which originated in the sunny, warm, and dry climates of the Middle East, it was carried by migrating farmers into the chilly and damp environments of Europe, where iron is a critical macronutrient for effective thermoregulation. So this particular change helps you to utilize or deposit iron in your body so that this micronutrient can be effective when you are in deficient. But you see, this has become a disease in modern day life when we don't need that, when we have changed from our early diet system to the current diet system. So this is evolutionary medicine. So what happens from evolution, we can actually learn a lot. And this is something not really taught in our classical medicine. So following this logic, you see the microbiome, which is consisting of various microbes, bacteria, fungi, virus. Those are also not part of our original cellular system. So they are invaders. They came from outside and then they become resident. So this resident microbiome thus became an evolutionary placeholder in our body. Some are good, some are bad. And the places where they are usually found in the body, on the host, any surface, internal or external, like your intestine, there is a mucosal surface. On the mucosa, you will find skin, the external surface, saliva, dental plaque, stomach, vagina, you name it, it is there. And of these places, the most loved place is the large intestine. And say, for example, if you take an average person of 1.7 meter tall, weighing 70 kg, this large intestine has a volume of around 400 milliliter. So in this, how many bacteria are there? And why am bacteria? Just now I said microbes consisting of various different microbial organisms. Bacteria is one of them. The reason is that bacteria we found, or people have established, that bacteria is the major component of them. And people have calculated and they found around 39 trillion, 3.9 into 10 to the power 13. So 10 to the power 13 orders of bacteria, that's the number we are talking about, which is present in our total human body. And out of that, majority stays in the colon. Although people earlier used to think this number is much higher, but it is not. It's actually, people used to say 100 trillion, but now it is known as it's around 39, so 40 trillion. And the total number of cells in that average 70 kg body weight, 1.7 meter tall individual, you will find around 30 trillion cells. So bacteria is slightly outnumbering our number of cells. If cells are 30 million, bacteria 39 trillion. So you see that in a sense, if you see it is 1 to 1, 30 trillion versus 39 trillion, you will think we don't know if we are really humans or bacteria, because we have so much of bacteria. And if we have so much of bacteria, they have so much of genetic materials, which certainly is much more than the total number of genetic material we have. And not only that, this particular number has the high fluctuations. If you see individual variations, it may be as high as 50% or 52%, as they say. Now, it may sound very high uncertainty in the actual thing, but it's not really that much. So what happens? We know there are variations, and this variation higher than the genetic variations, actually. Um, so one human being may have only half as many bacteria or twice the number. That gives you like 50% variations thing. So however, the bacterial count will never be 10 times higher. So that's the thing. It may be half or it may be doubled, kind of thing. I said that they are present in various surfaces. So if you see roughly, these different colors indicate different types of bacteria. And if you see the names, if anybody is interested in this small legend box, you can see different colors and the corresponding bacterial phylum is there. So red is the Firmicutes, and green is the Proteobacteria. So you can see, you may have heard Heliobacter pylori, a particular bacterial species, could be very, very high. But also there are stomachs which doesn't have H. pylori. You may have Actinobacteria, you may have Firmicutes, you may have bacteroids and things like that. But you can see one thing is very clear, that depending on the surface, the distribution varies, but only certain number of bacteria you could see are more populated in certain areas than the other. Say, for example, in vagina, you can see Firmicutes is the main population. Colon, it is also measured about 50%. In esophagus, it's also major component. But on skin, you will find Actinobacteria is the major component. So in Australian hair. So you can see there are different distributions. So that means there are different functionality associated with this phyla, as well as depending on the location. And saying that, it's also important how we nurture them. So starting from the birth to the adulthood, you can see, say for example, bottle feeding. You have a mammary gland. Through breastfeeding selections, you are transferring certain kinds of bacteria. But if you don't do that, if there is a bottle feeding, certainly we are not supplying to the infant those particular microbes which are beneficial for the life, for the growth and sustenance of life. Similarly, the cutaneous or the skin residing microbes, if early life antibiotics treatment, cesarean section, extensive bathing the baby, all these things affect. They will actually reduce the diversity and the abundance of the microbial compositions and so on. So you can go through this and see that there are multiple different ways one can actually affect the good colonization or the required colonization of this bacteria. So if that is the case, we are seeing already that the microbes have a role in health. That is easy to understand, but to establish it requires a lot of effort. And that's what we are trying to do, and many other people are also. Say, for example, if we try to utilize this, and there are reports that it can be good against protecting diabetes, obesity, IBD, and so on. You name it, it's good for that. But can microbes be used clinically? That means you like a medicine, like a supplement, and there are reports which is showing that inflammatory bowel disease, which mainly causes because of a particular organism, bacterial organism, Clostridium difficile, infection or increase in that abundance. Yes, it can. People have shown, this is a paper, it is possible. Probiotics are very helpful in pregnancy and maternal outcomes. People have shown multiple studies. Post surgery, it helps. In the obesity, it helps. In the gastrointestinal disorders in children, it helps. And so many in critically acute patients, even during COVID, uh, there are reports that probiotics or these microbes have helped. So certainly microbes have clinical relevance. And however, moving this knowledge and linking it to clinically relevant diagnostic or intervention is still in the research phase and requires more efforts. So with that, I am now shifting the gear a little bit. Now we know that there is a humongous amount of gut microbes, around 40 trillion, and they have huge role in health to maintain. So before I go further, more a little deeper into the actual understanding how we could help, how they could help, couple of definitions. Uh, Gut microbiota. Gut means the intestine, starting from your oral cavity to the anus. The entire column is known as the gut, and it has different portions like esophagus, uh, you know, the small intestine, large intestine, and so on. And depending on the location, the amount of these microbes differ. So gut microbiota, meaning a collection of bacteria, fungi, and other microbes, which may be viruses and things like that, in the digestive system is collectively known as gut microbiota. So this is something so that you know. Another terminology we are also interchangeably using is the microbiome, but it's slightly different. It's a varied and teeming colonies of gut microbes inside us. So if you have a little bit of difficulty understanding, we can come back to it at the end. And not only that, as we have seen, there are different phyla, different types of bacteria. Um, so they are having multifunctional features. So like they can produce essential nutrients that we cannot produce, helps co-metabolization of food. They can prevent um, other bad bacterial overgrowth, protect you from infection, and so on. Now, saying all these things, today's event is focused to a particular group of people, right? And this group of people have some special feature along with many other things. At the gene level, they have two X chromosomes. And because of these two X chromosomes, they are at the risk of various illnesses. Females are more likely to be affected by osteoarthritis, heart disease, and anxiety. I mean, this is proven facts. So if that is the case, there are also studies people have done where people have shown that these gut microbes have really, it plays big roles, be it breast cancer, be it menopause, be it cervical cancer, ovarian cancer. And there are also a group of gut microbes which helps to maintain healthy life. And you name it, PCOS, the polycystic ovarian syndrome, um, has a huge role that microbes play in female health. However, it's not only bad news. There are good news also. There are reports, very few though in this area, so that's why we need to work more. They have found that in PCOS suffering females, they gave a cocktail of bacteria. And these are bacteria, like names are a little difficult, Lactobacillus acidophilus, Bifidobacterium bifidum, Lactobacillus reuteri, Lactobacillus fermentum. So different combinations of Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium, uh, if you treat them, the PCOS symptoms, they actually are uh, remedied by these things. They can alleviate the problem. Isn't it interesting? Similarly, if you give another mix of certain bacteria like this Bifidobacterium lactis, Bifidobacterium bifidum, and the alphanumeric characters at the end you are seeing, those are particular strain of those bacteria, W51, W23, and so on. So if you go through this, you can see um, a few more cocktails, I mean a few more bacteria into that cocktail are giving, and that actually changes the vascular malfunction, like arterial stiffness can be in obese postmenopausal women, can be treated with. And finally, while further research is needed, Prevotella may be protective against postmenopausal bone mass loss, and this is particularly important in Indian female community. Now, one another very good news is that, um, I have already told that the gene-wise, the number of this microbial genome is much higher than our own number of genes. There are some diseases which may be gene-related, but to treat them, it's very difficult because you have to do a lot of things. You have to change a gene. You have to manipulate a gene, and manipulation of genes are not easy. Whereas to reshape the microbial composition, and if we can show that this microbial different compositions can have consequence to different health conditions, then that is much more malleable solution. So that's why microbiome, that's one of the main reasons why microbial treatment or this probiotic treatment becomes so popular. It's not only effective, it's also very easy to manipulate the thing. Like you can change the compositions, you can personalize it very easily, and things like that. And enormous progress um, is made in the genomic area to sequence the microbiome. And why do we need to do that? Because most of these microbes are not culturable. And when you cannot culture, how do you know what are those? Through the signature, which is embedded in their genome. So certainly technology helped a lot. However, despite all those things, there are certain challenges when we try to translate it to the clinicians or the clinical environment. The first problem is that microbiome profile is, as I said, it is malleable, but at the same time, it's very finicky also. Like it the stability is very less. It may change very easily. Suppose today you are taking chapatis for 1 week and suddenly you move to rice, you would see it will change. If somebody is having some vegetarian diet now and later decided to move to non-veg or some other diet, it will change. Very quickly, you can see that your microbial profile has changed. Now, if that is the case, then certainly, um, diagnosing somebody today and treating them tomorrow may be a challenge. And moreover, there are many other things like how precisely you can identify them. So that is also another thing. So there are challenges. And not only that, there are also intrinsic challenges. So say, for example, in this table, I will just walk you a couple of things. Suppose if you look at the second and the third row, reference man and reference woman. So for a 70 kg body weight man compared with a 63 average body weight woman, and the average age was 20 to 30. Blood volume, you can see on the fourth column, the second and third row, 4.9, 3.9. So these are all standard things we know. I will just show you, draw your attention to the um, this. Okay, let me see if I can get my. Yes. So if you see 0.92, 0.92, this is the bacterial concentration in 10 to the power 11 gram weight. So anyway, forget about that unit. So it's similar, but the total number of human cells are different between man and women. And the total bacteria, if you calculate, it's 38 and 44. So basically, if you bacteria versus cells, the host, if you see in reference man, it is 1.3 and this is 2.2. That means if you take the ratio of the bacteria, total bacterial population in our body who are residing with the total number of cells, man and women of similar age group um, are different. And so is happening for young infant and obese people. All these values are different. So that is another thing. So whatever numbers we are getting eventually for a bacteria, how many bacteria you have, what kind of bacteria we have, if we want to understand across population, we need a lot of normalization and different kinds of calculations. So that is one aspect. Other aspect is that we have evolved, that is one thing. And also we have a development through our growth from the birth to the adulthood. And during all these processes, they also change. So there is an age dependence of the microbiome. So you can immediately probably think, could aging be also regulated? And it is, and people have shown that. Similarly, with the growth, the immune response, the energy utilizations, all those things are manipulated or regulated by this bacteria. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that they are omnipresent, they are very high number, they are present, slightly higher than our body cell numbers. And not only that, they are highly finicky, they change very easily, which is a good news and at the same time bad news. It's a challenge, right? How to maintain and how to evaluate. And if you see among all different types of these microbes, the bacteria is the largest and they play also major role because various metabolites, the small molecules that they produce, which we actually need because certain food we eat, say fibrous food, and fibrous food cannot be metabolized or digested by us. So the gut bacteria are there to help us. So it's a synergy. And that synergism is very, very important. And this bacteria contains a large part of it to help us out. And how do they help? They produce these things and they produce certain types of metabolites known as amino acids, known as short chain fatty acids, known as vitamins, which actually help us in maintaining various balances in our body. So these balances could be our metabolic balance, this could be our immune balance, and so on. So based on this, people have found, depending on different kinds of, um, the composition and distribution of these microbes, they vary from individual to individual. As in the traditional model of medicine, people are trying to develop, coming away from the traditional thing and saying that, oh, there is a precision medicine, there are individualized or personalized medication possible. 5 group of people may having similar features. They need a particular type of medicine to treat a particular thing. Another group of people may require another thing. So this is called precision medicine. So is basically our concept in terms of microbes or the probiotics, so that how we can make personalized. With that question, which we started, that can we actually develop a methodology where we will be able to know more precisely, more accurately, the microbial composition of individuals, which should be cheap because as I said, the microbial composition is changing very rapidly. You change your diet, you change your lifestyle, they change. So So people need to do more tests. It has to be more dynamic test so that you test something today and day after tomorrow again you can test. It will not be a big like big cost to your pocket. So that's with those things. So that's some affordable test which is very accurate and which can be given to anybody, like because it is affordable, it's low cost. So for that we came up with a particular idea so that you give us some blood, and this blood is also not too much. It's just one needle prick to your finger, like many people do for the glucometer for their blood sugar test, and you put it on a dry blood spot card. There are some uh, blotting paper kind of material, and you send it to the lab. They will test, and they have developed some artificial intelligence machine learning based methodologies. These are the people who are our data science team in microbiotics. So they then develop um, some ways to predict these bacteria using these metabolites. And this is one of the representations on the periphery. Those names are showing different metabolites. A few metabolites are shown to avoid clutter, and the colors inside those lines are denoting different bacteria with their abundance. So you can see which bacteria, if you take a particular color, say for example, this particular color, which is lactospiraceae, is having a very high affinity to a particular metabolite known as serotonin. And similarly, this one with a slightly a ranking, you can see to niacinamide and so on. So you can find how different metabolites could be connected to a particular bacteria. And this is where okay, so there are some connectivities and we can actually predict very easily. There are other better ways of representing them. It's just like a sequencing. On the x-axis, you have different metabolites, and on the colors are again the different bacterial phylum. And you can see different metabolites, how they are connected. So these heights indicate the strength of their connection, or how many are connected with one. So that's how you can actually get an idea of the ranking of how microbes which are being predicted by metabolites. You are not requiring to collect fecal sample or the stool sample from individual anymore to test your microbes, to know what is there in your gut. So it is a finger prick to get a blood drop, and rest of the things is this. So this is the flow chart. I mean, which I don't really want to bother you too much. I have already told you these things. So this is a blood and fecal samples collection for initial training set. And after the initial training set, when we go to you for collection, we don't need your fecal sample. We just need the blood drop, and then the collections. Again, another schema just to show: collect sample, post a scheduled pickup, receive the health report. And this is how the gut function test, what we call it, GFT or gut function test, which will be sent to you if you are interested to take part in it. And this is showing again, this is another way of flowchart, because different people, how our microbes are different, different people's understanding or visuals, they need different visuals. So we have put it in different ways. And the advantage of this entire thing. So it's easy to be collected by patients at home. So you don't need actually so much of involvement of the or the requirement of the workforce and so on. Um, Easy deposition of the blood, simplified transport, simplified biobanking, and so on. At the end, when we get the reports, there are some key things we find out. On the left here, you see different colors, different shades of greens that you could see, and some numbers in percentage. And these are the names. So this individual has a bacteroids uh, phylum 50%. proteobacteria around 18%, and so on. And then you can actually calculate their relative ratio, compare with the healthy group of people, and say, for example, if an individual is denoted by these colors of green, and if the control values are shown in grays. So for each of these phylum, you can see then, okay, with respect to control, where you actually stay. There are other ways of showing red is the harmful, green is the helpful. So you can also show harmful, helpful bacteria, and that too under various different conditions. Say harmful, helpful bacteria for your emotional stability or your gastrointestinal disorders. So what is the ratio? From that, you can calculate uh, which area of your health is requires more attention and things like that. So to make a long story short, I mean, I don't know where is the limit. We can apply it for any disease, you name it, whether it is cancer, whether it is neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer, if it is stress, anxiety, you name it, microbiotics will provide you the solution. So whether it is for the diagnosis or for intervention. For the diagnosis, you have the GFT. For intervention, you have personalized probiotics. So if somebody is feeling not so well in terms of mood, there are there is concoction or the mixture or a formulation of probiotics that we can give you so that you will feel better. Isn't it nice? And this effort is not limited to predicting microbiome by host metabolites. It also predicts other health parameters based on metabolite profiles, because we are getting actually characterizing a lot of metabolites. So many traditional blood work can be replaced. And so you are paying a meager amount and getting an ocean of information. Now, of course, that's the thing. Like if you look at these numbers, you know, ground truth is predicting this many, and we are getting huge accuracy, like over 90% microbial populations are getting identified with more than 90% accuracy and at 10% cost. So what better you can actually think of? So in a nutshell, that's what we have thought, that microbiotics is transcending today's microbiome research into tomorrow's clinical solution. With that, thank you very much, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Dr. Palok. Hi, everyone. I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions, and not just related to what you heard today from Dr. Palok in the webinar, but even otherwise, if you have general queries about your gut health that may or may not have been covered in today's webinar, you're welcome to type your questions into the chat box, and we will take your questions one by one. If you prefer to ask the question, then please raise hands, and we will call you out to ask your questions if you want to directly do that. So, Dr. Palok, there is a question which
Yes.
asks, do you require a stool sample initially?
Yes, because what happens, the technology we are using based on a machine learning, and this machine learning, that phrase has the word learning. So we have to teach the machine, okay, what to predict, how to predict. So for that, initially, we need fecal samples of from different cohorts, and then we build the training set, and then once the training set is ready, we don't need your fecal material anymore.
Yeah. So just to clarify what Dr. Palok just said, when we built our solution, initially we needed the fecal sample because we did a comparison with the ground truth. But now when we are doing this test for people, we are not collecting that fecal sample now. But as we extend our research to newer areas, initially, again, for us to learn specific characteristics of that cohort, we may still collect, but not otherwise. So not for the test kits that we are providing commercially. Dr. Paluk, the next question by Vadika Gupta is, do you provide solutions or treatments based on these findings?
Yes, actually, what happens, we are just recommending things and whatever solutions, because I don't want to use the word treatment here, that has other connotations, and we are not the clinician. So what happens, I mean, what I understand from your question is that the solution that we provide is based on the findings only. So that, that's why the phrase personalized probiotics becomes helpful, so that for every individual this is different. So solutions are coming out of the report you are getting, and then we provide some recommendations through the clinicians, and then you take it from there.
Thanks, Dr. Paluk.
Yeah.
One more question, actually a lot of questions coming up now.
Yeah.
There's a question, in your experience, have these custom probiotics helped reverse neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, etc.?
Yeah, so microbiotics hasn't really done in that area yet. We are just beginning, but there are certain reports in the literature, very few though, where they have shown that certain microbes presence or absence in the system can trigger or protect against these neurodegenerative diseases. But in terms of a formulation of probiotics which can revert this, that is yet to come. Okay.
Thanks. Actually, one thing I will add, this has been an area we have been wanting to make progress in. Interestingly, in all our clinical trials, we have an approval from AIMS, we have approval from, and everywhere we are stuck because the clinicians are not able to get fecal samples. So everywhere the doctors are now telling us, we will get you the blood sample, we cannot get you a fecal sample. And like we initially explained, for us to prove that our product works for these patients, we want their fecal samples. So if there is any help you can provide in this regard, please reach out to us. We will be very happy to take any assistance we can, primarily around fecal samples, because these patients typically, right, they are unable to do the fecal sample collection on their own. And somebody in the household has to do it, which is where we are seeing a lot of resistance. And which is why doctors are not ready to take up the responsibility of getting us the fecal samples. But it remains something we want to make an impact in. So hopefully you will see it soon. Ashleisha has a question. How long does it take to get a report? Akanksha, probably maybe you can take this up.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for asking, Ashleisha. So it's the moment we hear from you, it's a very simple test that can be done, as Dr. Palok has mentioned. If I may, I will just. So this is the kind of, this is a gut function test. This is what you will get. It has a DBS card. If the test can easily be taken at home, it has a DBS card with a simple finger prick on the 5 drops. Once you've collected the sample, please let us know on the number provided in the testing guide, which is a simple brochure on how is it that the sample should be collected. Once we come to know, we get it collected, and it takes about 3 weeks for us to be able, 3 weeks plus minus, for us to be able to give you your reports. You will get your report on WhatsApp at the from the comfort of your home. So you need not leave your home at all for this test.
Thanks, Akanksha.
Yeah.
Thanks. Dr. Palok, the next question for you. Paromita is thanking you for the informative session and asking, related to autoimmune disorders like Hashimoto's, metabolic diseases like diabetes, does improving the gut biome with personalized probiotic, can it improve these conditions like autoimmune and diabetes?
Yeah, thank you. Very nice question, actually. So what happens for certain autoimmune disorders, there are reports. I'm not sure about Hashimoto's, if there is any report. I haven't really seen any. But for metabolic diseases like diabetes, yes, there are reports where it has shown that improving gut biome actually with this personalized probiotics, not personalized, general probiotics, it has improved. Personalized probiotics is a concept that is just only upcoming. and we are pioneering in that. So um, and the gut feeling is that see, for example, um, this is more precise, personalized probiotics. So uh, it will be very helpful because probiotics is shown that they can improve the condition by improving the gut, I mean, or changing the gut microbiome. One can invert or like one can treat the diseases like metabolic disorders, obesity, diabetes, and certain autoimmune diseases. And then when you get into a personalized one, um, it becomes even more precise. So my hunch would be yes, it would be even much better.
Yeah, just to add, diabetes, obesity, clinical trials we have already concluded, where we designed and gave the probiotics, and we saw positive clinical outcomes at the end of the clinical trial. But like Dr. Palok is saying, those were not personalized, and we hope and expect that personalization would only improve those outcomes. There's another question, probably Akanksha, you can take this up. Vartika is asking, what is the cost of this test and where all is this available?
So Vartika, the cost of this test is 1,500 rupees. We have not started commercializing it yet. We have received it, the first phase of approval. You can, once this session is over, I'll be sending across our website to you, and you can expect an email. All the attendees can expect an email from us. If you see the website, you can go and order on the website, but hold on and wait for that email from us, all the attendees. It every like it won't be 1,500 rupees for you. We'll charge a very, very nominal amount only for this specific program.
So uh, there's another question. What is the duration of the treatment plan post-testing? And how frequently do we need to repeat the
Yeah,
test and treatment plan? I'll let Akanksha answer on the cost of this, but Dr. Palok, what should be the duration? What should be the frequency of test and what should be the treatment plan look like? I will please request you to comment on that, and Akanksha, you can thereafter add the cost part of it.
yeah, okay. So I'll tell you. I mean, based on our recently concluded this probiotic clinical trial in AIMS um, with for diabetes and type 2 diabetes and the obesity. So what we have found that once the treatment started, like we are giving the probiotics to individual, we have seen as early as 2 months, people are seeing visible changes. And saying these visible changes, maybe the reduction in HbA1c value, which is one of the most important marker for finding out how bad one's diabetes is. And we have seen people have come down from as high as 8.5 points. So those are some of the things we have seen in 2 months time post treatment. So that is the thing, and we have done it for 3 months trial, and it is consistent. Now your second question, that how do we need the test and the treatment plan? So this is a beautiful thing. Like, one good thing is that the probiotics, uh, if you need to redo, absolutely there is no problem if you are otherwise healthy. So you can repeat it again and again, and it's cheap. And the test, it's very fast, because I'll give you some idea about the test, that how fast it is. Suppose today we received your blood sample. By tomorrow, your test is done, and the report will be generated the next day. You can actually, if when everything is in the pipeline. So this is as quick as that. And then if you do a test today, as Akansha already said, that it's very affordable. So you can come back and do it the next week. We don't recommend less than a week, because it requires about that time to see any significant changes. And treatment plan I already addressed. So just to summarize, um, the treatment post-testing, as early as 2 months, you will see the effect for chronic diabetic and chronic obese people. If it is acute, I guess we haven't tested that. It would be even faster. That is one thing. Second thing is that you can repeat the test weekly if need be. Otherwise, once a month or twice a month, depending on your need. Thank
So,
you.
Dr. Paluk, I read somewhere, and I could be wrong, but I just wanted to clarify with you
Yeah,
that a human gut microbiome profile changes every 3 months, right? Would that be correct? I mean,
yeah,
because that would kind of
I could
define
not hear
by.
you.
Am I audible now, Dr. Paluk?
Now,
Um, Akanksha, am I audible to you?
Yeah, Nidhi, you are audible to me. Dr. Palok, I think there may be some network issues at your end. Can you hear me, Dr. Palok?
I think I'm not hearing you.
Dr. Palok, can you hear any of us?
Akanksha, why
Huh.
don't you answer the other
Hello.
part?
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah,
Paluk,
I
are you
can
back?
hear it now.
Yes. Dr. Paluk, my question was, what I read somewhere was the human gut microbiome profile, right, changes in around
Yes,
3 months'
you are
time.
coming and going.
I will send you message separately.
It-
Akanksha, in the meanwhile, you reply on the cost of treatment
First
part.
part.
I will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So everybody, our probiotics, we have two solutions with us. One is the personalized probiotics, as everybody knows. It will be priced around 50 rupees a day. And the other is standardized ones, which is ready-made formulations that you could buy off the shelf for obesity, diabetes, and a few, not obesity, diabetes, sorry, but for weight management, for sugar metabolism, etc. And these will be priced at between 25 to 30 rupees a day. Yeah. So
Okay, I'll take this question very quickly. Are samples being sent abroad or analyzed in India? No, the entire work is being done in India. Even the medical data is not going. We are complying with all the data protection laws, and we are also HIPAA compliant. At no point in time, either the sample or the data goes outside India. Dr. Palok, if you are back, there is one more question on report. There's a question
Yeah,
saying, does the report tell us how healthy our gut microbiome is? What issues there are? For example, why is there an indigestion often? What exactly is the understanding / actionable we can take away from the report?
yes. You actually nailed it. You gave the answer kind of thing. Like if I refer sentences, you have the answer. Yes. The thing is that it tells how healthy our gut based on how much of harmful and helpful bacteria are present or the microbes are present. And what kind of helpful or harmful bacteria, so that whether they are related to some indigestion, as you said, or some mood disorder or something else, and accordingly we can actually take the action that needs to be taken. Yes, that's absolutely on the dot.
Yeah.
We can say, uh, I mean, different areas, different parts of your health, how good or bad based on this report.
So yes, the report is indeed, like Dr. Palok mentioned, organized depending on various areas of impact that gut microbiome have and how the microbes that are known to cause that impact, if they are deficient in your body. And by the way, we are also working on food recommendation based on your gut microbiome profile, specifically for each people. That product is not out yet. So it will take us a little more time to get that to be a part of the report. So please bear with us while we are putting that part of the product together. But yes, you will know absolutely which microbes are deficient, and personalized probiotics is our way of providing the actionable part where we provide we design the probiotic basis what is deficient as per your report. There is a question clarifying my understanding. Once a report is generated, is there a personalized probiotic dose that is created which aims to improve or reverse the condition that may have been flagged off in the initial report? Is that something that can be purchased in addition to the test report? Any idea whether that dose needs to be consumed for it to be effective? I think we have already answered this, right? That the answer is affirmative for everything that is being asked here. Sorry, I'm trying
Yes,
to
yes.
move.
I will
Yeah,
just add a
yeah.
couple of things just for a better clarification. Sorry.
Yes, Dr. Palok, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I mean, you mentioned about the personalized probiotic dose. So it is more than the dose also. Dose is important, but at the same time, how we are changing a particular strain and that kind of thing. So yes. So the entire idea is to basically to improve or reverse the condition that may have been causing this problem. And you are absolutely right.
Very interesting question from Ruchika. She's saying, thanks for the informative session. What are the risks, if any, of personalized precision solutions provided? Any risk to gut flora, fauna, leaky gut, or any other unrelated to gut, etc.? So on the risks of probiotics. Yeah.
So what happens here? Right. So basically, what happens, whatever is reported so far and what we know, unless someone is having already some ulceration and a little bad one in their stomach or in the colon, other than that, there is not much risk associated with that. Now, in the leaky gut thing, yes, there are some reports, you know, that the entire idea is that it should not get into the bloodstream, the bacteria. The bacterial products like metabolites can go, but not the bacteria itself. So there are certain risks of those kind of uh, people, but other than that, it's fairly safe.
So, Dr. Palak, would it be fair to say, would we get an indication if a person has a inclination towards leaky gut? Would the report be able to flag it, and would you be able to indicate that probiotics is not a right answer for a certain individual?
Yeah, you can tell that, but based on the kind of test we are doing, that is not possible because for leaky gut and those things, there are different kinds of tests in humans that is done. Unless those are done or not known, that won't be possible to tell.
Got that. Got that. Um,
Mhm.
I don't have the full name, but very interesting. Another interesting question. What is the harm in taking general probiotics that cover all major groups? It will fill all the gaps, if any, and if there is excess in any variety, that is unlikely to do any harm, isn't it?
Well, yes, that's interesting. I think very clever question. So what happens? You see, I will take it this way. Like you saw those different proportions when I was showing one of the slides, how these bacteria are present in different areas. Now we are concentrating in the gut or in the colon, say for example. So when we are consuming this bacteria, suppose let us do an experiment here. So a thought experiment. So you have taken 10 different uh, probiotics, a composition, and it is composing of all possible probiotics available um, to be consumed. Now, what happens if certain probiotics are not needed and assume they don't have any detrimental effect, they will simply go out of the system. Nothing will happen. So this is basically a wastage of resource that way. I mean, health-wise, nothing bad will happen, but it is an unnecessary thing. So the concept of personalized probiotics is not only to tailor make the thing for an individual. On top of that, it's also conservation of the things that is precisely required. So that's why it is also called a precision medicine. So you are not giving you are not treating quantum mechanically, like you are not giving everything together. You are giving only those which are required so that it has um, a proper win-win situations and very less wasteful things happening.
Thanks. Another
Yeah.
question is
Yeah.
from Vandita,
Over to
who
you.
is This question is from Vandita, who is asking, were there any other changes made in terms of diet and lifestyle apart from administering probiotics in the clinical trial?
I don't know if it is.
Yeah, Vandita, this I can also answer. No, we did not make any change. This clinical trial was done through
Am
AIMS
I audible?
doctors. Yes, Dr. Palok, you are audible now.
Yes. So yes, what happens? Certainly, it depends on diet and lifestyle. So as I said, it's very finicky, and certain lifestyle has to be maintained. Suppose there even you are taking-
Dr. Palok,
suppose
we
you are
lost you.
just
Hello?
hello,
Dr. Palok, we cannot hear you. Maybe we move on to the next question till the time Dr. Palok joins back. Another question is on, do these probiotics need a cold chain? What is the quality control here? Akanksha, do you want to answer this? Dr. Palok, if you're back, you can answer this as well about the need for a
yes,
cold chain
yes,
for probiotics.
yes, the cold chain, right? Yes. Yes. So ideally, I mean, within India, like the way the delivery systems and these things, you don't need it really, because most of the probiotics we are using in its dried form, and they are very stable even at room temperature, unless it is a very extreme weather, very, very hot weather, and you are just like transporting them. Other than that, under normal conditions, they are very stable. So you don't even need to keep them in fridge for this thing. So for transportation, in most cases, it should be okay.
Dr. Palok, the previous question, we couldn't hear you. That was in context of the clinical trial that we did. The question was,
Okay.
did we change any lifestyle or diet for patients for whom we did the clinical trial on?
Oh, okay. No, actually, what happens during the clinical trial, we didn't change anything because we have recruited people under certain conditions that if they are following certain lifestyle, then we have recruited them. And so during the trial, nothing was changed. And we didn't ask them, okay, not to eat this, not to eat that. We know, okay, you are on the normal diet. And as long as during the clinical trial, you are not changing it abruptly. That's all.
The question Veena is asking is there any long-term roadmap to do testing by non-invasive means? Let's say on a wearable device, for example.
Well, as such, there is no such thing. I mean, this is, I don't think I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think there would be any effect of those things on this non-invasive means, because it's a blood prick, and I don't think there is any data that suggests there could be some effect on it, effect of this kind of non-invasive means on the microbes and things like that.
So to add to that, Veena, again, disclosing a little bit of the roadmap here, one more another set of research threads that we have ongoing are to extend this research to vaginal microbiome, hair microbiome, oral microbiome, etc., which are all swab based. So they are all non-invasive. But the gut microbiome, as it stands today, like Dr. Palok mentioned, there is no evidence that a non-invasive method can do a good prediction of what the gut microbiome will look like. The question from Nishika, Dr. Palok, is, are probiotics also helpful in improving reproductive health, PCOD, PCOS?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned in my slides already, there are, for this particular thing, especially PCOS, so there are compositions that are already tested and shown that it improves. So that is there, yes.
Thanks. One more question is, apart from the cost, how does GFT stand against a GI map test?
So, first of all, this GI map test is much more cumbersome than our GFT. So, if I can repeat, like a GFT, as I said, you send the blood drop and we just test. Within a day, everything is done. And it gives you information at the molecular level. Whereas for your, GI map test is much more on a superficial level. So that's what I would put. So you get much more precise, much more molecular level information, which GI map cannot give.
Yeah. So if I can add, apart from what Dr. Palok already said, GI map test also doesn't give you other, but I'll just elaborate on what Dr. Palok said when he said at a molecular level. What it also means is the same test today can also provide you information on vitamins, amino acids, short chain fatty acids, and a number of molecules which determine your nutritional health, which GI map test cannot give you. Right? So we have not started including it in our reports, but we are extending our research to also include all this information. So you get a complete nutritional profile of your body, not just the microbial, but both microbial and metabolic level, which is what Dr. Palok was saying. I'm just putting some more information to kind of make it easy to understand. I believe a part of your question, Vandita, also means in terms of performance, how do we stack up? Right, Dr. Palok, can you comment on that as well in terms of like ability to, yeah.
So because what happens, you see, in one case you are getting the idea about the microbes present. Now, as we know, the sensitivity of the test of these two are completely different. One, at the metabolite level information, the resolution of the machine is much higher than the resolution of, say, our normal NGS system. So as a result, what we can do with this GFT test, as Nidhi was also pointing out, we can go beyond this because it can give you a holistic idea about the health or the health status. So that's why I would suggest that this GFT is very different. Okay, so now the question I could also see, she's asking about how is GFT different from organic acid test? Yes. So again, it's one word or one sentence answer is the sensitivity and the resolution. So this is a mass spec based test, and a mass spectrometry, is way better than any organic acid test. So you can determine at a much more, sensitive and highly resolved way.
Okay, the question is for PCOS, what is the eventual state? Few months of prescription probiotics and then?
Oh, okay. Yeah, very good question. So we don't know the answer because when you are treating, you can see it is coming. It is remissioning, it is going back, it is getting better. But whether you like, if that is the question, if I understood correctly, I'm seeing two areas of it. One is that if you see, okay, after the months of precision probiotics, and then meaning, will it come back and you need again the testing and the treatment? Perhaps yes. Now, for PCOS, precision probiotics, I'm also not very sure, like how PCOS, say for example, a type 2 diabetes, we know, or an obesity, we know, individuals differ in their microbes. So precision medicine is required. Precision probiotic formulation or the personalized probiotic formulation is required. For PCOS that way, I'm not sure if that kind of diversity in the microbial population is observed. I'm not aware. So if you give that, and if it so precision probiotics may not be required at all. It may be a normal general probiotic cocktail or formulation would be good enough to treat that PCOS, my hunch is. And I could see you have a clarification of the question: is there a way to manage PCOS without probiotics after a few months, or they have to be taken always? Again, I am not going to answer because I don't think I'm qualified to answer this particular. This is more clinical question. So it would be better to, I mean, we can find out, but I'm not very sure what will happen. Neither I have the data, nor I am a clinician to talk about, the pathology and all the details of the PCOS. So sorry, I cannot comment on that.
So one thing to say here is to everyone, vaginal microbiome, our research, we have received our approvals to kick off the clinical trials in that field. That is why when Dr. Palok is saying we don't have enough data is because we are in a process of collecting the data. Hopefully by the time next Women's Day rolls in, we would have much more data with us, and we will be able to answer some of these specific questions related to women health with more details. But as it stands now, we are trying to answer our level best based on the research that has been done in the field so far. But one thing I would like to say, right, overall, we talked about various disorders. If you see all the disorders that we are focusing on, most of them are lifestyle disorders, which means that if we fall back to the old lifestyle, it is very highly likely that we will see these symptoms, these disorders, these complications come back. So with lifestyle disorders, I am again not even a scientist, but my hunch would be these will be interventions that we have to plan for, because we have to treat them almost like lifestyle changes, right? It's like retaking multivitamins, right? Us women being recommended after a certain age to take calcium tablets, which essentially means we have reached a point where our bodies need some supplement over and above what we are doing in a regular this thing. Otherwise, the lifestyle has caused this, the lifestyle will again cause this. Dr. Palok, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I'm approaching the idea of lifestyle disorders in general. And I think similar thing
That's
will
true.
apply.
Yeah, but to be specific, I have no answer.
Yeah. Specifics we can't answer right now, but hopefully, I'm saying once we are concluded with our clinical trials on vaginal microbiomes, we hopefully will have some answers by the time we speak to this audience next. I know we are well past time. I will take this last question. Vandita is asking, possible to learn more about the methodology and result of clinical trial? I request you to please write to us and let's have this discussion offline. Yeah, we are preparing to publish this. We already published this in one industry conference where it was peer reviewed, and we discussed with multiple experts in the field. But if there's a specific interest, we can always take that up as a separate offline request. So thanks everyone for being phenomenal audience, barrage of questions, wonderful questions that challenged us, questions that hopefully have been very helpful to everyone else also. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for participating. You have a good evening, and let's please stay engaged. We are trying to do something good. We are trying to do something research-based, bringing a science which has remained in the realm of scientists in the lab to something that becomes usable by ordinary people like such as myself. And hopefully with your support, we will go far. Thanks, everyone. We'll conclude the session now. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.